Hi, I'm Rez, and today I have something really exciting for you guys. So some of you may know my good friend Geoff Plays Guitar. I've certainly talked about him enough. So if you don't know him, then he is one of my best friends, IRL, and he's an incredibly talented musician. And for the last few months, he has been making these really amazing Final Fantasy arrangements. He and I teamed up for a collab of an orchestral arrangement of Terra's theme, which I've linked in the description box below. And this time we teamed up to do a collab of To Zanarkand for you guys. So this was on my bucket list for a really long time, and we've been working on it for like a month and a half just due to both of our schedules being a little bit crazy, but it's finally done and we are really, really excited to show you guys. So much like the format that we had for the last, for Terra's theme, this video is going to have, you know, my little intro, it'll have a preview of the arrangement, and then it'll have a cool, cute little behind the scenes talking about, you know, what went into making the actual arrangement and everything. So if that's something that you're interested in, you know, I've got timestamps. The song is finished. The full song is on Geoff's channel. This is just a preview so that people go to his channel to listen to the actual full song. So I'm linking that below as well. But definitely, if you're interested, check out the behind the scenes, because it was a lot of fun to talk about it and rant about it a little bit. And there's some fun little tidbits in there that I think that you'll enjoy. So without further ado, the following is a 1-minute preview of Geoff's and my rendition of To Zanarkand, and we really, really hope that you enjoy it. Huge thanks to Geoff, as always, for doing this collab with me, or letting me work with him on this, and for doing all of the mixing, because that takes a lot of work. He also did most of the editing for the actual behind the scenes, which I wasn't expecting, but I was away with my family this weekend, just drove back 3 hours, so he was kind enough to do the editing while I was gone so that we could still get this out on scheduled Monday release time. So definitely let us know your thoughts. If you haven't subscribed to Geoff yet, do it now. He's a super talented musician, and I'd love to see him get some more recognition. But we really hope you like it. We worked really hard on this, and let us know your thoughts. And yeah, enjoy.
Okay. This took forever to set up.
What's up, everyone? I'm Rez. This is my good friend Geoff.
Hi, everybody.
You probably know him from my incessant talking about his amazing music, but I'll let him, you know, do proper. Oh, there's the fly. Oh. Shit, I didn't get it.
I'm Geoff Plays Guitar. I play guitar, and I've been doing a lot of Final Fantasy covers, which you've been listening to. And hopefully. We're about to talk, I hope so. And we're about to talk about another one. We just did To Zanarkand, and it was like 99% res. That's how most of these go.
No.
That was Terra's theme too, is like 99% res, and I just adjusted the volumes and stuff. You should, if you see me actually doing work, it's, I don't actually do that much, and that's why she's not around for that part.
He spends so much time on these. He I mean, not to mention, like, he mixes them single-handedly, which takes hours.
This one was a little bit different. then Tara's, we had been talking about it for a while. We did the parts in a couple of sessions and then kind of like didn't connect for a little while, and then came back and put the song together. And then right before this recording, we went through all the final notes, and it's really just like one pass by me and we're done. So I'm really excited to be talking about this with Rez today. And it's just been a long time coming, and an amazing song to cover, and a really difficult song to cover, to do it right.
The real challenge was that Geoff has a 61 note keyboard, which is fine when you're just like inputting a few notes at a time, whatever. But when you're playing a full-blown piano piece, it's a little challenging, especially when it's on the wobbliest stand in the world. Yeah. So we actually, you know, first we recorded the whole, like I played the whole thing on piano twice at different tempos. And that wasn't, I mean, it definitely wasn't one take at all, but it had to be multiple takes specifically because we had to digitally change what octaves the keys were in so that it would still work, because you'd get to the end of the 61 keys and it would just be, it would hit plastic.
Yeah, I'm glad that I didn't have to play piano for this, because I provided the worst possible gear for her, and it came out really, really great. But it's like I have a keyboard, and then I have the stand that I bought for like, I think $1.
I don't know why it's so wobbly though. Like I was trying to see if there are any loose screws or knobs or anything, but I don't get why it's so wobbly.
She was like chasing the keyboard around while she was doing it. And we replaced chairs like we did.
Oh my God.
At no point did we ever actually
out like 3 different chairs.
Yeah, we could have, in that amount of time, we could have fixed the stand. But we went with chairs instead. And so here you go.
I also forgot sheet music, so we had to stack a bunch of books and then put my laptop on it and then zoom in, because like you can't make laptop portrait mode.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had to zoom in like two lines at a time.
Yeah.
Since I know the piece, you know, I remember it well enough, but I obviously don't, you know it by heart since I hadn't played it in years.
Right. We had to redo the piano pedal part only. Like, it got played, and then what we wanted to do is just line up some stuff with the timing of the song.
Because a real pedal, it'll always sound better than an artificial pedal being added in, even if you know exactly where it should go.
We moved some of the actual playing around a little bit just to make sure that the tempo was good. There were some parts that, like, you know, as we're going through the song and as Rez was reading the sheet music, you know, she would stop and then, you know, read to the next part and then start playing again, things like that. And it was all continuous recording. So we had to move it so that it actually like played in the style of the song.
Seamless.
Yeah, exactly. And that was just like the nature of how we did it. But because of that, we moved all the parts over, but the pedal, the actual up and down of recording, it didn't move.
It didn't move.
And so
we didn't realize until it was too late.
Right, the pedal was just completely in the wrong place. And so we were like, all right, how do we fix that? And so what we did was Rez took her hands off the keyboard and I played the song, and she just pressed the keyboard or pressed the pedal in time with the song.
But then that was too weird. So I like played the piece again on the keyboard, but like with the wrong notes, because I was more focused on the pedal. So I just played the same like structure, but with the wrong notes, just so that I knew reflexively what to do with the pedal.
Yeah, it is Rez's original performance. That's the best part about it. And even though some pieces were done at a separate point in time, but everything was actually original, which is really cool all the way through the song. To
Zanarkand is one of the most famous and popular Final Fantasy pieces. I knew that I wanted that to be one of our collabs, so I called dibs like a while ago. But because it's so popular, it's one of the most covered Final Fantasy pieces, and most of the covers are orchestral. So we wanted it to be, but the original song is like, Uematsu does such an incredible job with it, as well as like the Distant Worlds version. They both do such a great job with it. So we wanted to do it justice. We wanted it needed to be a balance of the original song, but also different enough to be interesting, different enough to not just be like all the other covers of To Zanarkand that you've heard on YouTube or Spotify or whatever. And I think we figured out a good balance. We gave it more of like a rock orchestra feel. I don't even know if that's a genre, but
yeah. Have you ever seen Trans-Siberian Orchestra before?
Maybe.
Like the Christmas metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's rock orchestra. I almost said Tenacious D, but I'm like, that's a rock opera. That's not the same thing. But yeah, well, I mean, we didn't do it like Trans-Siberian Orchestra. No. This doesn't sound like, Carol the Bells. Uematsu had a particular thing in mind. And a lot of the covers are like remakes, or they kind of just go way out in left field. So we wanted to find a balance of like a little bit of that, and then a little bit of like, oh, this sounds like some of the other stuff that Raz and Geoff were doing before. So what you're going to hear is there's some original parts that we added into the song, kind of like we did with Tara's theme, just to make that feel work. So there's like little bits that we added in transition.
And we'll break down those parts a little bit further, because there is like a science behind it, or like theory behind it.
Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't enough to diverge from this song. Like, it was just to help kind of glue everything together and then lead you into like the journey that we want you to take for this song. We
wanted people to perk up, and you probably know the part that we're talking about, but
yeah, exactly. You ultimately will get so perky.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's the whole song just repeated twice, and the song is really split into two major sections. It could, as you might see in Ableton Suite Live, it's divided by us into multiple sections with some funky names. But the actual piece itself is just to Zanarkand being played twice, just in different styles.
Yeah. So no other melodies and leitmotifs this time.
For Tara's theme, Celis's theme and Dancing Mad came so naturally and fit so well. But for this, we couldn't really, nothing came to mind immediately. And if it wasn't gonna fit, like, we didn't want to force it.
Okay, we already told a little bit of the story.
We should probably like pause and start a new recording. Yeah.
We're gonna pause now.
All right, so song composition and structure. So basically, like we said earlier, I played the whole song on the piano first, and we used that as a template. I couldn't think of the word, and like I can't describe it well enough so that Geoff can think of it, but it was basically like a template. We needed something to use so that we had the rhythm. So the whole song was recorded, like both sections, on piano. That was the first session, was just recording the entire piece on piano. And of course I forgot my sheet music. There's a part towards the end where drums come in, but the first part is mainly piano and strings. So I remember we played that out. I think that was the second session, and we just played out those notes on the keyboard. And Geoff did the same thing, actually on his own, for the second section of the song. And it sounds really dope, and it's become like kind of the string solo. But we didn't want to add too much, because we still wanted the focus to be on the piano. We really wanted the first part of the piece to just be, okay, you're getting brought back to when you first played FF10, and you're, in the intro, you got all the characters there. So I added the beach, like wave sounds too.
So in a lot of the songs I do, by the way. Keep listening.
Yeah.
I have it just in a little folder, and I just drag it into all the songs.
Some of you guys heard the earlier drafts, like I gave sneak previews on streams. But for the first several, until the most recent one that we did before this session, they were what are called sketch strings.
Right.
So they're easy to drop in there. They sound like shit, but they're there so that we can get an idea of what it sounds like with that instrument.
Right.
And then in between the last session and this one, Geoff painstakingly replaced every single note with an actual, string set that sounded good.
Yeah. We still want it to sound pretty real. We
still want it to sound like it can be played by a real person.
Yeah, exactly. If you listen to the Distant Worlds albums, those are not done by a real orchestra. That's very similar to what we're doing. It's all sampled instruments. Somebody types it in on the computer and gets it to sound as close as they can. And
is it?
Yeah, pretty sure. There's a lot of things that I listen to and I'm like, that's way too perfect for...
I mean, there are some perfect people out there, Geoff.
I mean, maybe. If this is false, then we find out after the fact, we are not going to edit this out, and I'm just going to look dumb. So Imagine Distant Worlds is not a real orchestra. If it is, whatever. The thing that they try to do is, for budget reasons, you record an orchestra and then you just get it into the computer so that you can play every note, and it's actually a recording of somebody playing. And the sketch strings that I was using, the reason I call them sketch, is not because they're not a real orchestra. They actually are sampled from a real orchestra. They just barely did any recording. They just like recorded every note once and did it as fast as they could, and it just sounds kind of like computerized. It sounds like a sampler, like a hip hop sampler, where you just like, you hit the drum and it just makes the same drum sound over and over again. The ones that I prefer to use, what they do is record it a bunch of times, and that's more natural, and it makes it almost sound real, because every note, even if you play the same note 4 times, they'll actually be played a little bit differently because they recorded the same note 4, 6, or 8 times. We put the drums in right after, and a lot of that was like, Rez, you showed me a song, maybe it was a Crestoria song? Yeah. That had a really sick drum beat in it. And we were like, we're gonna use that. And so we did. And so that's like, as soon as the drums come in, that pattern, it's inspired by that song.
And it was like, the song that I played is just piano and drums. It might have a little bit of like guitar in there, but mainly it's just piano and drums. And that's kind of the vibe that I wanted to go for with the, like build up section that we have. Yeah,
that was like a single day. We just kind of like nailed that stuff.
Really just hammered that part out.
Yeah.
The first 5 notes, I mean, the whole build up, like the first 5 notes of the song, that's what it is. It's the first 5 notes of the song on repeat, just.
Oh yeah.
And it's just on repeat to set up the rhythm structure, and then we used some chord inversions for the melody.
It's a very clear moment when the song transitions away from the original and into like the next kind of style that we have, and that happens right at the beginning there. So listen for those 5 notes, listen for those inversions,
and you can listen to the beginning again and just hear that it's really the same, you know, 2 beginnings of To Zanarkand.
Yeah, we like nerded out about that part for a little while. I
got very excited about it.
Yeah, and for anybody who actually does like care about music theory and stuff, time signature change was there. The whole song's in the 3/4, but we added a 4/4 bit in there. So just listen to, you'll do the counting and you'll be like, whoa, that's kind of weird.
It was a good way to speed up the song a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. In addition to that, because there's so many more instruments coming in, Rez played the piano part the same way twice, but we went in, and because there were so many other instruments, we started pulling notes out. We just deleted notes because we were like, the piano's doing a lot of work. It was trying to do all of the legwork for the first half, but the second half, it's got a whole orchestra behind it.
And you're gonna fill in the notes with your head anyway. We kind of did that with Tara's theme too. There's a section in the middle when the piano ducks out, and honestly the overarching melody ducks out, and it's just the background chords, but in your head you're playing that melody still.
Yeah, so we pulled some of that stuff out. Yeah, and like, I don't know if anybody was listening during some other streams and during the previews, but Rez had described kind of the original drafts as it's going to be like a jazzy version, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that at that point there was really just drums and piano, and there's a lot of good drum and piano music out there that has this like jazz fusion feel, but ultimately once we started adding things like timpanis and strings and big cymbals and all sorts of stuff, like it stopped being jazzy, and I'm happy with that. I don't think
we should do a jazz cover of something one day.
Yeah, but the world's not ready for it yet.
No,
there will be. Yeah, so I mean, and now we're here, and now it's like the final touches now, just kind of going through and being like, that's too loud, that's too soft, just too soft. I want to hear my piano more. That was like half of today.
Yeah,
it was literally. Like piano's too quiet, piano's too quiet, piano's too quiet. This is about me, Geoff, piano supply.
No, it's about the piano. Also, you'd majority done it with your headphones, and the sound was super different.
We played it today. I hadn't actually done any mixing on my speakers. I had it all on these headphones, and I can't hear any bass on my headphones. They're really bad with bass. And so as soon as I played it, I was sitting there and I was just like every timpani hit, I was like, ugh. Like, it was just the loudest.
Which was basically all of my notes when I took notes for like feedback.
Yeah.
Because Geoff had added those when he was replacing the sketch strings.
But what I like to do is do a lot of mixing in the middle of the day so nobody can complain, right? And I turn it up and I get all the bass and I just level everything out. And I think it'll sound nice. And the first thing to go is these drums that are just way too loud. There's like these huge, the timpani just sounds like it's a totally like it's two recordings on top of each other, like two different songs right now. It's like way too loud. So we're gonna fix some of that stuff up.
Actually, To Zanarkand was one of the first pieces that I played on the piano because I actually learned it way back when. My piano teacher, I hadn't played any Final Fantasy games before, but I knew pieces on the piano first because my piano teacher knew I loved video games, and one of his other students was, this is when I was like 8 or 9 or something, and one of his other students was learning To Zanarkand and Eternity Memory of Light Waves, and so he brought the sheet music in. He's like, let's try learning this. My piano teacher was fucking dope. He was super cool. I didn't have to learn traditionally, which was great, like, which is why I think I still love playing the piano today and continue it, because he knew the second I walked in that I wasn't going to be learning traditionally. But so I got to choose the pieces I wanted to play. But To Zanarkand and Eternity Memory of Light Waves, those were two of the first pieces that I used to show my parents that video game music is beautiful, because they were so used to like, you know, hearing my brother play like Call of Duty or Halo or something and not really hear any music in that. And so when I played this piece for them on the piano, they're like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. What's it from? I was so excited and so proud to say it was from a video game. So kind of coming full circle.
Prez introduced me to Rachmaninoff. Like, we had talked about it a little bit, but then hearing it in context of what we were recording for this, it starts to like, it stops being like just a listening activity and it starts being like almost study, you know? You're just being like, whoa.
I mean, at this point, you know way more music theory than I do. But Rachmaninoff, if you don't know,
watch a lot of YouTube.
Rachmaninoff, if you don't know who he was an incredible Russian composer. He actually had, I don't know if it was gigantism or something, but he was super tall and he had much larger hands than the average person. So I think he could reach a 16th, which is. No, maybe not a 16th, maybe a 14th. I can't remember, but it was like I can reach a 10th, which is I've got like a freaky.
It's almost
a freaky long reach with my left hand, but I can reach a 10th. I can reach a 10th, which is an octave and 2 notes. Part of that is because I grew up playing Rachmaninoff pieces, and so you kind of have to learn how to stretch your hand out. I mean, more than being able to reach octave is like being able to do that with your index and middle finger, which is like.
That's the freakiest thing I've ever seen.
People say I have alien hands, but anyway, I remembered this part in the first Rachmaninoff piece I learned, which is my dad's favorite piece, which is Prelude in C Sharp minor, which Rachmaninoff himself hated playing because it was his most well-known piece, so he like absolutely dreaded playing it. But it's still one of my favorite pieces to play. And when I first learned it when I was in middle school, actually, and then I learned it again more properly when I was in college. But when I was in middle school, I was reading through the sheet music, and I didn't understand, like, on the last page, and I'll include like a screenshot. On the last page, it's one hand is 2 staves. It's two lines. And I just thought, oh, you choose which one you want to play. But really, it spans so much because you have these big 4-note chords in each hand playing at the same time. It spans so much of the piano that you need 4 lines to actually show 1 measure, which normally you just need 2. So I kind of got that idea, and that's where we did more chord inversions, and I took the structure of the third and final part of Rachmaninoff's Prelude in C Sharp minor, and applied that to what we call the grander piano part, and just took the chords from that we repeated in part of the build-up, which are literally just the first 5 notes of the piece itself, and I took those and I inverted the chords and I just played them with like 5 notes in each hand.
I'm really happy with how that turned out. And then Geoff added drums, and he's not a drummer. I don't know how the fuck he's able to like come up with these drum sections that sound like an actual person playing them, because it's hard. It's really hard to do that. This is like advice for anyone making computer music. When you have every instrument at your disposal, when you have every disposable instrument, you can click in anything, and they are made to sound real. And the only reason they wouldn't sound real is if you personally don't really know how to configure it or don't know how to type things in a way that seems human. So the best thing that you can do is, if you're not a drummer, if you're not a guitar player, if you're not whatever, go on the internet and watch them play and try to repeat that stuff. Try to click in what they're doing. Just practice. Practice mentally. You don't have to practice physically. Also get in the habit of playing like air guitar or playing air drums when you're typing that stuff in, because you're gonna know when you can't do it for real. Like a lot of times when I'm playing a drum fill, like in Zanarkand, there's a part that's just like da 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 da, and then there's a fill. And I had to go like, and I had to like do it out and time it, because I needed to figure out like, what would a person with only 2 hands do? Because I could make them have 8 hands and do this. And getting a good drum kit helps too. Like I use TuneTrack Superior Drummer, which is like the best drum kit ever out there right now. Not endorsed at all. I just like them a lot. Let's get this man some endorsements.
That'd be cool. That'd be neat. What else we gotta talk about? Oh, no woodwinds in the song. We wanted it to sound more like a Hans Zimmer soundtrack.
And I watched the entire Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy again for that reason, because we mentioned Hans Zimmer, and I was like, nice.
Yeah. And so there's a whole section where she's just talking like Batman, right in the middle.
Yeah, fine. But yeah, we wanted to give it an overall Hans Zimmer feel of grandeur.
Yeah.
Like a big movie soundtrack.
Yeah.
How do we feel about the song?
I am very excited. I think that this is a bigger challenge than Terra's. I think
and you already said that Terra's theme was the most challenging song you've done.
It was. So I like doing.
I just bring you to the next level.
I think that is 100% true. And because it actually is really different working with somebody. I think that you learn the most when you do that. It was really hard to make it sound like us and also like the original together. I think like it's just a conceptually interesting thing to do. And those are the types of projects that I really like. So I'm really excited to release it. I think it sounds awesome. And I'm speaking personally. Hopefully her opinion is the same.
I think it sucks. No, I fucking love it. I'm super excited about it. I love how it evolved from like just this bass piano to piano with strings and then piano with drums, and now it's just like this whole semi-orchestral piece, this like rock orchestra kind of. Is that like the genre that we're going with? Like, you know, you put when you upload your songs, you have in parentheses the genre of it. What are we gonna do for this one?
I think it's probably closest to orchestral here.
Okay.
There is some rock stuff, but there's no guitars.
It's also really frustrating that it's called To Zanarkand with a fucking preposition in the name. It makes it really hard to insert it in sentences.
Yeah, exactly.
Really hope you're looking forward to Zanarkand.
To Zanarkand. To Zanarkand.
Can you just imagine having that playing like on repeat in the background? It's like a PBS show or something.
So many downvotes.
One of my favorite parts about when I would preview it to folks on my stream was, you know, they'd be super into the first part, which is just the piano and strings. There are some parts that you know, deviate from the original. Like there's a part with timpani that I really, really like. It's just so grand. But then you get into the build-up and everybody's like, ooh, I like this. Like, what is this? And they were just very intrigued by it. And that made me so excited because it means we're doing something right. It's like, it's something new that people haven't heard in To Zanarkand before, but it's still To Zanarkand.
Yeah.
And that's basically what we're hoping for, is that people still love it as a cover of To Zanarkand, as an arrangement of To Zanarkand, but they hold it as something totally new.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for all the support and your patience, because I know that this one has taken a little bit longer than normal. Our schedules have been a little bit crazy the last month or so, but we appreciate you bearing with us, and we really, really hope that you enjoy it, because we really like what we've done. Go subscribe to Geoff, because this is on my channel. So go listen to the track, go subscribe to him, and show him some love, because I don't understand how he hasn't gone viral yet.
Yeah. I read a lot of books about it. Doesn't work the way I was hoping. Thanks, everybody. See you later.
Bye. Cheers.